The village was drawing lots to allocate plots of land. Just as I was about to reach in, live comments suddenly floated before my eyes. Poor female lead. She has no idea her parents left gold for her, buried right in the plot behind her house. I heard the plot with the gold was secretly manipulated by her fiancé and given to his white moonlight. Exactly. The male lead folded that slip into a triangle, so white moonlight would draw it. The female lead really got the short end. I looked down in confusion. Inside the wooden box, there really was a piece of paper folded into a triangle. Hey, no spoilers up ahead. I just started reading. What's the female lead looking at? Why isn't she drawing yet? What in the world is this? As I stood bewildered, the other villagers waiting in line to draw lots started calling out. What's the holdup? Are you drawing or not? Hurry up. Everyone's still waiting. I couldn't worry about whether these comments were real or not. Flustered and anxious, I gritted my teeth and snatched up that triangular slip. The village chief unfolded it and announced loudly, Luna Tang's family. Plot 5. My heart pounded like a drum. Plot 5. That's the plot right behind my house. The one they say could yield gold if dug up. Holy crap. The female lead drew it. Did she suddenly wise up? A rebirth awakening? Huh. Does the second playthrough change the plot? I returned to the crowd. Dylan Zhang's face was tense, clearly unhappy, tall, handsome, and with a bright future. He was secretly admired by all the young women in the village. Everyone thought I wasn't good enough for him, only because after his parents passed, mine took pity on him and raised him like an adopted son. That's how this engagement came to be. Since childhood, I'd chased after him, calling, Dylan, Dylan, without end. Poor female lead. Wasted her whole life on the male lead. I heard he strung her along while cozying up with the other woman outside, even dumping her kids on the female lead to raise. Thanks but no thanks. Netizens have feelings too. Who even watches this kind of female? Tormenting plot. Dropping it. Done. What are they talking about? Am I the female lead? Is Dylan Jiang the male lead? A sudden, sharp pain shot through my head. A flood of memories, both foreign and familiar, rushed into my mind. So, I've been reborn. I remembered my past life. In my previous life, after my parents passed away, I had planned to follow my city relatives to the city to seek my fortune. But because of my engagement to Dylan Jiang, I chose to stay. That decision kept me here for a lifetime. After his wedding leave ended, Dylan Jiang returned to his military unit. From then on, we were seldom together. He urged me to take care of his friend's widow, Sherry Young, and even adopted her son as our own. After Sherry Young struck gold, she moved to the city to start a business. Later, as Dylan Jiang climbed higher in his career, he gave the accompanying family member slot to Sherry Young instead of me. He said, "Don't overthink it. Sherry is more suited to striving out there than you are. And besides, you have our adopted son to look after." I treated the adopted son as my own, and he was close to me for a few years. But Sherry Young, who came back from the city, was stylish and beautiful, and always brought him many rare and exotic gifts. Slowly, he began to look down on me and grew closer to them. "You're just a country bumpkin, not my mom. My mom is beautiful and rich, and she's going to take me to live in a big house in the city someday." Later, the adopted son was also taken to the city to attend school, and when I fell seriously ill and wanted to go to the city for treatment, the adopted son, upon receiving my call, said, "Aunt Luna, you were never good enough for Uncle Dylan. If it weren't for you, he and my mom would have been together long ago." Sherry Young also wept to me, "Luna Tang, Dylan has always said he only sees you as a sister. Just because your family once took care of him, does that mean you should hold him back for a lifetime?" Hold him back? Who exactly held back whom for a lifetime? Dylan Jiang climbed the ladder of success. Sherry Young built her fortune. Only I remained, tending to a small plot of land in the village, raising an adopted son with no blood ties all on my own. I wasted my youth, missed opportunities, and lived an ordinary, unremarkable life. Only me, while I toiled under the blistering sun, harvesting rice and corn in the fields, my hands bloody to save tuition, and buy winter coats for my adopted son. Dylan Jiang was out there with Sherry Young, living together in harmony under the guise of building a career. All the flowers and applause belonged to them, while all the toil and hardship were mine to swallow. Why? When I married Dylan Jiang, I was just 20 years old. I too had a bright future ahead, full of ideals and ambitions. Yet I was shackled by marriage and responsibility, raising another's child like a nanny. In the end, I was despised, fell ill alone in the mountain village, and died full of resentment. So, who really held whom back? I clenched the paper from the drawing of lots, my vision blurred with tears. Heaven has eyes. Fortunately, I was reborn, returned to this day of drawing lots for the plot of land. I hadn't yet married Dylan Jiang. You could even go into the city and seize opportunities. Everything could start over. The drawing of lots wasn't over yet. It was Sherry Yang's turn to draw. Sherry Yang had fair skin, an oval face, and a delicate, graceful beauty, the kind of charming widow every man in the village couldn't help but glance at a few times. She hesitated for a long while, as if unsure where to begin. Oh no, has the other woman lost her mind? The male lead's rigged lot was already drawn by the female lead. Is the female lead about to change her fate? This is getting interesting. Just tuned in, heard the second round storyline changed. These live comments are popping up again. Gasps and sighs rippled through the crowd. It turned out Sherry Yang had drawn the village's best plot of land. Amid the congratulations, she forced a smile and looked pleadingly at Dylan Jiang. Dylan Jiang frowned and glanced at her. After returning home, I dug out the calendar notebook. In my past life, Dylan Jiang had taken leave from his unit to come back. It was for the village's land distribution and our wedding plans. The village allocated plots of land based on male family members. But my parents passed away unexpectedly a few years ago, leaving no men in our household. Dylan Jiang made a special trip back to secure a share for my family. In my past life, I was deeply grateful to him and grew even fonder of this Dylan. I married him with sheer delight, counting down the days on my fingers for how long he could stay with me after the wedding. Now, I'm also counting on my fingers the days until he leaves. I folded the corner of that calendar page. 12 more days. Before then, I need to find a way to break off our engagement. Seeing everything replay just like before, I nearly shed tears. This time, I won't let myself be trapped in a marriage, wasting my whole life away. I must protect what my parents left for me. I will venture into the city and seize every opportunity for growth. I will live my own life to the fullest. After dinner, Dylan Jiang knocked on my door. His family's house had long been abandoned. Since his youth, he'd always stayed in our guest room. Let's swap the plot of land we drew today with Sherry Yang's family. As a widow with a child, that larger plot of land would be too much for them to manage. This smaller one in our backyard is just right for their livelihood. If not for my rebirth and learning about Dylan Jiang's underhanded schemes through those live comments, I might have truly believed he was saving the better part for me. Damn, is the male lead this despicable? So eager to pocket the gold left by the female lead's parents? Taking it is bad enough, but gifting it to his white moonlight, unbelievable. I hope the female lead doesn't let romance cloud her judgment. Reading these comments, I couldn't help but smile wryly. No need. That land originally belonged to our family. We've grown attached to it over the years. Dylan Jiang seemed troubled, frowning deeply. The next day, I began sorting through our household belongings. After packing up some practical items we couldn't take with us, I knocked on Mrs. Wu's door nearby. Mrs. Wu has a son, Owen Wu, 2 years younger than me. Owen was admitted to university this year, but met with an accident. He injured his leg and can no longer attend. In my past life, Dylan Jiang was often away, so Mrs. Wu's family and I frequently looked out for each other in daily life. Once, my adopted son had a high fever, and no clinics were open late at night. Frantic, I held the child and wept bitterly. Mrs. Wu comforted me, while Owen Wu, without a word, dragged his lame leg to fetch medicine outside. He returned at daybreak, his injured foot caked in mud mixed with blood. Mrs. Wu's family treated me very kindly. Their circumstances were modest, and Owen Wu had injured his leg. Before leaving, I helped as much as I could. I gave Mrs. Wu all the usable items I had. Mrs. Wu's eyes reddened. Xinhua, does this mean you'll be leaving with Dylan Jiang after the wedding? I simply replied, I won't be living here long term anymore, Auntie, but I'll make time to visit you all later. Mrs. Wu thought for a moment, then pulled me aside. Staying by his side might be for the best. She tilted her chin, gesturing for me to look toward the nearby plot of land. Xinhua, dear, it's not that I want to twist the knife, but your Dylan is quite a catch. You ought to keep a close eye on him. Luckily, he hasn't been in the village long, or he'd practically be that young widow's man by now. Isn't that the truth? Dylan Jiang was helping Sherry Young fix some farm tools, while she smiled sweetly, dabbing his sweat with a handkerchief. I smirked scornfully. So it had always been this obvious. And yet in my past life, I never noticed. But it doesn't matter anymore. As I packed my things, I also gathered up the farm tools and leaned them against the courtyard wall. That evening, Dylan Jiang didn't come home for dinner. He returned late at night. I helped out with some work during the day and ended up staying for supper. So he ate with Sherry Yang. Then, without a word, I cleared the dishes from the table and put them away in the cupboard. Dylan Jiang noticed the room looked emptier. Some of my clothes and daily items had been packed up neatly. He looked surprised. Xinhua, what's all this? Thinking I was preparing to follow him, he started making excuses right away. Xinhua, it's not convenient for me to bring family along right now. We've discussed this before. I nodded. I know this family member slot was never meant for me. Then why are you? I said calmly. I'm about to start new life. Just changing my mood. Dylan Jiang didn't ask further. That morning, Sherry Yang came to see me with the village chief. Dylan Jiang opened the door for them. They came to discuss swapping plots of land with me. The village chief closed the door and said earnestly, Xinhua, I've watched you grow up. While land allocation seems fixed on paper, there's always room for private arrangements. Dylan already approached me about this. Shuichin's child is still young. Though it's a boy who qualifies for land, no one can work it. Now she's got such a large plot while yours is too small for Dylan. Swapping would be perfect for both families. The village chief probably meant well. From a farming perspective, it really made sense. Besides, Dylan Jiang has a bright future ahead. The village chief could also earn his favor by doing this. Why wouldn't he? On the surface, it clearly looks like my family is getting a great deal. Seeing that I remained silent, Sherry Yang hid a little behind Dylan Jiang. Sis, do you not like me? A few days ago, I begged Brother Jiang for help. I have to take care of the child and really couldn't manage on my own. As she spoke, her eyes even reddened. She looked pitiful and delicate, but the live comments above were furious. Ugh, this green TB *TCH is the one flirting around, and now she's playing the victim at the female lead's expense. The female lead is such a doormat. If it were me, I'd slap the female lead once, the other woman twice, and the male lead would get a full-on dragon, subduing 18 palms. Luckily, it seems like the female lead has woken up. She probably won't agree. I pondered for a moment, then asked the village chief, the land swap, does it start next month? The village chief nodded. I steadied myself. All right, let's swap then. What? Female lead. What are you doing? No way. I thought the female lead had finally awakened, finally switching from the wifely virtues script to a strong female lead one. Let's scatter. The female lead's love struck brain has relapsed. I said to Sherry Yang and Dylan Jiang, your child is still young. Hurry back and keep an eye on him. Sherry Yang gave me a suspicious glance, and Dylan Jiang left with her. After they left, I kept the village chief behind. Uncle Wang, I have some other matters and would like to ask for your help. According to the original schedule, Dylan Jiang and I should have started preparing the banquet and wedding arrangements. In my past life, I was the one eagerly handling all these matters one by one. This time, with my prolonged inaction, Dylan Jiang finally asked, shouldn't we be holding our wedding soon? I've already submitted the report. After the banquet, we'll go to the city to register our marriage. In my previous life, discussing these things before marriage always filled me with excitement. But now, I remained silent. Seeing that I didn't answer, he looked at me with confusion. His voice softened a bit more. Our parents are no longer with us. Tomorrow, I'll go ask the village chief to officiate our wedding. All right, and you've always said you wanted wedding photos. Tomorrow we'll go into the city and take a set together. In my past life, not having wedding photos was a lifelong regret of mine. I brought it up to Dylan Jong many times, but he would only frown and say, such flashy formalities aren't important. It wasn't until I saw that wedding photo of the two of them standing side by side at Sherry Yang's house that I realized it wasn't that the formality didn't matter. It was that I didn't matter. Back then, Sherry Yang even feigned surprise, exclaiming coyly, "Oh, this was all arranged by Brother Dylan. My husband passed away so early, so I hope you don't blame me, sis." But her eyes were full of smug delight. I never expected that in this life, Dylan Jiang would bring it up himself. Only now, I no longer care for it. Suddenly, the front door was pounded with thunderous force. Dylan Jiang went to answer it. In the night, Sherry Yang stood in the drizzling rain, holding her child, weeping pitifully. "Dylan, DeBeo has a fever. He's burning up all over. What should we do?" Woo-woo. Sherry Yang's clothes were soaked through, outlining her delicate curves. Dylan Jiang grew frantic at once, wrapping an arm around her as he prepared to dash into the rain. "Let's go to the county town clinic. There should still be someone on duty." But just as they were about to leave, he suddenly remembered what he had just said to me. He turned his head and looked at me awkwardly. "Shinua, in my past life, it was just like this. On the eve of my wedding, Sherry Yang came to our door, holding her child, begging for help. Back then, I was trying on my bright red wedding dress, carefully packing wedding candies one by one. My heart was full of anticipation, yet I watched helplessly as the man who was to become my husband the next day, without hesitation, shielded another woman and her child, ready to abandon me on the night before our wedding. I grew frantic at once, saying plaintively, "Dylan, we have our banquet tomorrow. Can't someone else accompany them to the county town clinic?" Dylan Jiang frowned and said, "Shinua, even during my leave, I should still look after the village matchmaking affairs. It's my duty. Since you're going to marry me, you need to understand the responsibilities I carry." My heart turned cold. I grabbed Dylan Jiang's sleeve, refusing to let him go. Sherry Yang wept pitifully. "Sister, in law, please have a heart and save our DeBeo. I'll return Brother Dylan to you. I promise." Sobs. Hearing this, Dylan Jiang's expression turned even colder as he pried my fingers away. "Shinua, stop making a scene. Be reasonable." I stumbled and fell to the ground, scraping my palms. My eyes instantly reddened. "Dylan," Sherry Yang exclaimed. "Oh, sister, in law, are you all right?" Dylan Jiang put his arm around her and left. "Shinua, I'll be back as soon as possible." Sherry Yang glanced at me with her head lowered, a faint smirk playing on her lips. "We can't delay the agreed arrangements." The next day, I hosted the wedding banquet alone. It wasn't until the banquet was nearly over that Dylan Jiang, the groom, finally made his belated appearance. Everyone praised him for caring about his fellow villagers, saying that even after achieving success, he never forgot his roots. Only I was filled with bitterness. Was it really just duty? Fortunately, in this life, I won't waste this opportunity. Watching their figures overlapping, I said calmly, "Go ahead. Saving people is more important." Only then did Dylan Jiang relax, leaving with Sherry Yang in his arms. After confirming they had completely left, I hurried to the backyard. Picking up the shovel left nearby, I started digging on that plot of land. Wow! I knew the female lead had awakened. So this was the female lead's plan? Female lead. I admit I yelled a bit too loudly at you before. Whoa! Is she really going for the strong female lead script now? The plot of land wasn't particularly large, but it wasn't small either. Dylan Jiang was sharp-eyed and keen-eared. I couldn't act while he was home. The waterlogged ground was muddy and slippery, making each step uncertain as I trudged through. I had no idea where my parents had buried the items. I feared I might spend the whole night digging with nothing to show for it, wasting all my effort. Finally, I couldn't hold back and cried out for help. "If you've been here all along, could you please tell me where exactly what I'm looking for is hidden. I'm begging you. Who is she talking to? There's no one around right now. Is the plot about to shift into supernatural territory? I'm getting scared. I spoke urgently, my nerves on edge. It's you, the live comments. I know you've been watching me all along, and you even told me that the triangular slip was the plot of land I should pick, with the gold my parents left buried beneath. After the live comments briefly vanished, they suddenly exploded in number. Live comments. The female lead can see them. She can read what we're saying. This is spooky. I knew she seemed to have a sudden breakthrough. I read several lines of the live comments aloud, word for word, before they truly believed I could see them. They all started explaining to me at once, talking over each other. In their eyes, my life is like a period drama series, and they're real. Time comments are the live comments. This show has already aired once, and now it's the second run, hence the term second playthrough, which perfectly corresponds to my rebirth life. They were extremely excited, eagerly offering answers. I think it's somewhere further back. I checked and compared carefully. It's near the chicken coop. Female lead. Why not try digging around that area? Front, back, left, and right. Wow. First time seeing someone live. Stream digging for gold with real time guidance. This is so thrilling. Thank you. Thank you. I was so grateful. I nearly burst into tears. In both my past and present lives, I've always toiled alone, sweating over the plot of land, racking my brains to provide for my adopted son's needs. Everyone said I married above my station with Dylan Jiang, that I got the better deal, but no one ever stood by my side to see how I was truly faring. Now, so many people understand my struggles and are willing to help me. I swung the shovel with even greater force. Yet this plot of land was neither too large nor too small. The rain grew heavier, and I knew Dylan Jiang wouldn't return tonight. He would spend the night outside with Sherry Yang. Still, I kept digging shovel after shovel through the torrential downpour. I dug until my arms ached and swelled, until blisters formed and bled in my palms. I dared not stop, because I knew this was more than just my parents' legacy. It was the very capital that could overturn my destiny. The rain gradually lightened, and the crowing of roosters echoed from the village. Dawn was approaching. Anxiety burned within me. If anyone woke up, they might discover what I was doing. With the next shovel thrust, a strange sound suddenly rang out. Clang. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's happening. It's happening. Oh my God. A golden legend. My excitement surpassed even striking gold. Who among you can understand this feeling? Folks, Luna Tang, have returned from rebirth, and I will reclaim everything that belongs to me. Help. Why is this motherly devotion suddenly burning so fiercely? Ignoring the pain in my hands, I crouched down and began digging at that patch of soil. Finally, I unearthed a rusty, aged iron box, holding that heavy jewelry box. I couldn't hold back my sobs. I've finally found it, my parents' keepsakes that were taken from me in my past life. I washed the iron box clean. Inside were 2 palm-sized gold bars, some gold jewelry, and gold bracelets. There was also a letter left for me. To our beloved daughter Luna, by the time you read this letter, your father and I are likely no longer here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing this letter. When we wrote this, you were still too young, and we feared you couldn't protect it, so we didn't tell you. Xiao Jiang is a good child. He will relay this to you. In the days to come, support each other and walk your path well together. You must have faced great difficulties to have opened this. These were left by your maternal grandparents. They treasured them their entire lives. But the family could no longer keep these things, so they hid them away, waiting for the right moment to be opened. Yeah, these are all yours now. If you ever need them, use them. Mom, Dad, and your grandparents would never blame you. Yeah, we only wish for your happiness. Always loving you, Mom and Dad. Tears fell drop by drop onto the letter. I couldn't hold back my sobs. But, Mom and Dad, do you know, in my past life, I never received your letter. Everything you left for me was taken by Sherry Yang, and Dylan Jiang never intended to tell me any of this. Crying. So this was the letter the other woman burned in the past life. The female lead's family was truly wonderful. Sob. Exactly. Before burning it, The other woman even mocked the female lead's whole family. That wretched pair, stealing others' inheritance and ruining lives. Let's be honest, isn't the female lead herself at fault? Who's to blame if the pampered wife can't stand up for herself? So in my past life, this letter that never reached me ended up like this. The feelings I treasured so dearly were carelessly burned to ashes by someone else. I was exhausted all night, my vision darkening from fatigue. After cleaning myself up, I hastily had a bowl of plain noodle soup and went to bed. In my drowsy state, I seemed to hear some noises. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was greeted by a flood of live comments. Female lead, get up quickly, female lead. You need to be more careful. You didn't even finish the job properly. How utterly foolish. Hey, watch your language up there. Who knew the male lead would return early? She's exhausted from digging all night. Dylan Zhang's voice came from outside the room. Xinhua, I'm back. Why is the house so messy? What happened to you? I quickly glanced at the sky. It was only afternoon. In my past life, Dylan Zhang didn't return until the wedding banquet started in the evening. I scrambled out of bed in a flurry, hastily stuffing everything into the drawer. Xinhua, are you okay? Why haven't you been responding? Just as he was about to push the door open, I hurriedly pulled it back. I was just sleeping. The urgency on Dylan Zhang's face finally eased. I'm glad you're all right. Why is the house such a mess? What happened last night with such heavy rain? Did you go out into the yard? The floor was covered in muddy footprints. I hadn't had time to mop up. Dylan Zhang made a move to check the situation in the yard. The live comments suddenly flooded the screen. Holy crap, is the male lead going to find out? What if the male lead really tries to take it by force? No way. Is the gold we just got going to vanish like that? Damn it, I knew the female lead was a total idiot. How could she not clean up properly? What trash writing. I'm so pissed. My blood pressure's through the roof. I was so nervous I could hear my own heartbeat. I didn't even dare imagine what would happen if Dylan Zhang found out. I quickly grabbed his arm. It's nothing. The chicken coop broke this morning. I fixed it and didn't have time to clean up. Then I'll go fix it. No need. I already fixed it. Before Dylan Zhang could question further, I quickly followed up. Why are you back so early? At this, Dylan Zhang finally dropped the subject and smiled while pulling out newly purchased items. I went to the city this morning and bought new bedding. Do you like it? A dark green bedding set. I froze, feeling nothing but mockery. Live comments also flooded in. Ugh, where was this effort earlier? Only knows to please her now that the female lead ignores him? Pleasing my foot. The other woman made him gift green bedding. We all know what that implies. What an absolute trash male lead. If the female lead dares to coldly wash underwear now, I'm dropping this first. Seeing my silence, Dylan Zhang frowned. Are you still angry? About last night? Xinhua, I rarely come back. So helping the neighbors is only natural. We're about to get married. Can you stop being so nitpicky? You've been targeting Shuafeng, yet she still thinks of you. This bedding set was her idea. She suggested I buy it for you. I'll keep all the promises I made to you. When did you become this kind of? I looked at him calmly and retorted. What kind of person? He faltered, his face flushing red. The kind who's engaged but keeps running to another man's house. Getting tangled up with him? Or the kind who abandons her fiancé in the middle of the night and runs off with another man? Realizing what I meant, he flushed with shame and anger, trying to argue. That was just, I continued coldly, Dylan Zhang, whether it's helping the neighbors, a sense of duty, caring for a comrade's widow, or something else, you know the truth. No need to explain anything more to me. His face turned pale, then flushed with anger, his intentions exposed. He stubbornly refused to admit it. You're overthinking it, Xinhua. I would never do anything to hurt you. I've already written the report. Tomorrow at noon, the Li family is hosting a birthday celebration. I'll go find the village chief to act as witness and discuss our wedding arrangements. He made it sound like I should be grateful just to marry him, but that works out perfectly. Tomorrow, I've also already arranged to meet with the village chief. Uncle Li went to the city a few years ago to start a business. After returning in glory, he's throwing this birthday banquet for the old lady. They slaughtered a fresh pig today, something rare in the past. where we might not get this much meat in a whole year. Times really do seem to be getting better. I pitched in too, bustling around helping prepare the feast. Dylan Jiang was dressed very formally, his handsome and upright figure drawing shy, admiring glances from many young women. He probably plans to bring up our marriage with the village chief during the banquet. Those girls also shot envious looks my way. Sherry Yang wore a stiff smile, her gaze toward me filled with resentment. Once the feast began, everyone enjoyed the steaming pork, with laughter and cheerful conversations filling the air. Mr. Lee helped the elderly lady out and said a few words, prompting everyone to offer their birthday wishes. The village chief also stepped forward, smiling warmly as he delivered his congratulations. Then, he shifted the topic and said, "There's one more thing I'd like to inform all the folks here about." The village chief waved me over. "Xinyue, come here." Under Dylan Zhang's surprised gaze, I stepped up beside the village chief. The village chief placed a hand on my shoulder and said with tipsy pride, "Xinyue is a promising young woman. She says it's a new era now, and she wants to go to the city to strive and contribute to the nation's development." Her engagement with young Jiang was originally an arranged marriage by their parents, but this is a new era that advocates for free love. Xinyue has always seen young Jiang as just an older brother since childhood, and now that she's heading to the city, she doesn't want to hold him back. Since Xinyue has such aspirations, we elders certainly have no reason to stand in the way of the younger generation. With everyone here as witnesses today, I'll take the initiative to call off this engagement on their behalf. From now on, we're all new youth of a new era. Let's emancipate our minds and revitalize our motherland. Everyone in the village knew about my engagement to Dylan Jiang, so to break it off, a respected figure needed to step up and speak for me. After the village chief came to discuss swapping the plot of land that day, I asked him to stay and requested his help. The village chief and villagers always thought Dylan Jiang and I were mismatched and unsuitable. He agreed without hesitation upon hearing my plea. The villagers applauded and cheered in agreement upon hearing this. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. A flicker of delight crossed Sherry Yang's face. Only Dylan Jiang remained seated, pale and stunned. Hallelujah. Finally free from that scumbag and this engagement. Free my foot. This is utterly frustrating. I've ended up Shengshun ing, that wretched pair. Ugh. Huh. So the thrill in female-oriented stories is just, I don't love you anymore. I'm fabulous on my own, leaving the scumbag heartbroken. That's it. Might want to check how revenge is done in male-oriented stories next door. Seriously, speechless. Whoa, that's way too extreme. We live in a society governed by law now. What more do you expect? For someone from the female leads era, she's already doing pretty well. I didn't pay much attention to these live comments. Different folks, different strokes. Just like how everyone in the village thought I wasn't good enough for Dylan Jiang. After this rebirth, I've finally let go. Only I know the true taste of my own life. In this life, my future won't be trapped by Dylan Jiang anymore. I will leave this place and see more of our country's magnificent landscapes. I'll use my own hands to create value and contribute to our nation's development, to live my own life to the fullest. As for those who've hurt me, they'll eventually fade from my vast future until they disappear completely. Xinyue, what do you mean by this? What's this about calling off the engagement? You never said you were leaving. The moment he stepped inside, Dylan Jiang confronted me aggressively. I packed my things and answered casually, "It's exactly what you heard." He was about to say something more, but I looked up and gazed at him innocently. "Dylan Jiang, I've only ever seen you as a brother." He froze in place, his face turning pale. We weren't. Huh, how ridiculous. In my past life, it was him who said he only saw me as a little sister. So now, if I only see him as a brother, what exactly is he still unsatisfied with? That's the boomerang effect. So satisfying. Hooray. The female lead finally stood up for herself. Stood up? Is this what counts as satisfying in female-oriented stories? Can't say I agree. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. After my parents passed away, Dylan Jiang did support me through some very difficult times. Like an older brother, He shouldered the family's burdens, farming the plot of land to provide for me and escorting me to and from work. Later, when he joined the company, he sent all his subsidies to me, ensuring I lived without worries. He even helped me build a small home of my own, to let an orphan like me live free from bullying and in peace. That's why in my past life, I was so devoted, guarding him for a lifetime. But now, we're even, I said. May you and Sherry Yong have a harmonious union lasting 100 years. Dylan Jiang wanted to stop me. I didn't give him the chance. At the break of dawn the next day, I took all my belongings and went to the city with Uncle Lee. After arriving in the county town, I bought the earliest bus ticket available, headed for the big city that I remembered would develop the best in the future. I knew that in this era, this land held limitless opportunities, and I wasn't alone. These live comments, though observing my life from the sidelines, offer me much help. I learned from what they said, sourcing goods and setting up a stall, working from dawn to dusk. It was tough and exhausting, fighting for stock when sourcing, shouting louder than others when hawking. Every day, I collapsed into sleep from exhaustion, yet cherished this hard-won life dearly, far more fulfilling than the endless waiting of my past life. Every morning I woke up feeling like endless possibilities lay ahead. In my first month in the city, I earned more money than I would have made in a whole year back in the village. I divided the money and sent portions to Mrs. Wu and the village chief. I also wrote them letters. I told Mrs. Wu to use the money to send Owen Wu to enroll at the university he got into. I explained this wasn't just gratitude. It was an investment in Owen's future. Once Owen graduated from that prestigious school, he absolutely had to come work at my company. I also told the village chief that once I'd earned more and broadened my horizons, I'd find ways to help everyone in the village prosper together. After sending the letters, Dylan Jiang somehow got hold of my address. He started writing to me. In his letters, he said that ever since calling off our engagement, nothing felt right to him. After returning to his unit, he'd thought long and hard and realized he'd stopped seeing me as just a sister long ago. He insisted nothing had ever happened between him and Sherry Yong, begging me not to misunderstand. He asked if I would give him another chance. Dylan Jiang often wrote to me, still sending his stipend as before. He also mentioned that he had reclaimed that plot of land in the backyard. If I ever wanted to return, I could visit any time. Yet he still didn't tell me what was buried in that backyard plot. But I had already vaguely guessed his intentions. He thought that by giving me the engagement, he was securing my future. So he presumptuously handed the wealth to Sherry Yong as her lifelong security. Now, with the engagement gone, the buried wealth naturally returned to its rightful owner, but that wealth was mine to begin with. What right did he have to hide it from me and make such self-righteous arrangements? If I hadn't been given a second chance, these regrets, known to no one, would forever remain unresolved. I sneered coldly and set his letter aside. I never opened any that followed. I replied to Mrs. Wu's letters, to the village chief's letters, but never to his, as if I had never received them at all. I earned some money by setting up a stall, then opened a small shop, and eventually several more. Life was flourishing day by day. Owen Wu went off to university, and I made a special trip to visit him, taking him to the central hospital in the big city to treat his leg. This younger brother, who had also helped me countless times in my previous life. This time, I would make up for all the regrets in his life. Later, the village got telephone service. From a call with Mrs. Wu, I learned news about Dylan Jiang and Sherry Yong. Hearing those two names again felt strangely unfamiliar. Mrs. Wu said that over half a year ago, Dylan Jiang had returned once. He spent several days digging with a shovel in that plot of land behind my house. Though no one knew what he was doing, one night, there happened to be a village banquet, and everyone had quite a bit to drink. In the middle of the night, Sherry Yong sneaked into Dylan Jiang's room. The rice was already cooked. This caused quite a stir in the village. In the end, Dylan Jiang had no choice but to hastily marry her. As family, he took her and the child back to his military unit. But it was hardly a respectable matter after all. I heard the team leaders were quite displeased, considering his personal conduct questionable. Dylan Zhang's prospects for advancement were likely dimmed from then on. It was only then that I rummaged through the letters. I discovered that Dylan Zhang had stopped writing around half a year ago. Only the stipend was enclosed in each envelope afterward. In his last letter, he claimed he had long ended things with Sherry Yang and begged me to trust him. He also mentioned that my parents had left some belongings for me. He proposed meeting in the village to hand them over or promised to bring them to me in the city once retrieved. I suppose that must have been the time he meant. For years later, Owen Wu graduated. His leg had fully recovered, leaving no trace of the former limp. He was quite accomplished. To support himself, he had gained substantial work experience during university. I had already started my own company, and with a top graduate like him joining, it felt like adding wings to a tiger. Later, we analyzed the market and returned to the village to thoroughly survey a plot of land. I decided to answer the local government's call to drive common prosperity in my hometown. We're going to set up a factory in the village. Let the spring breeze of reform sweep across the land, and let everyone strive for a moderately prosperous life together. The initial funds weren't enough, so I took out the gold bars I'd been saving and grit my teeth to exchange them for cash. This gold was once my blood relatives' love for me, the foundation that gave me confidence to venture out and strive. Now, it has also become my capital to contribute to the nation's development. Years later, our enterprise became a representative local company. I grew more confident, mature, and steady, often invited to attend important events to prevent any mishaps. The government would also assign specialists to maintain order and security. I encountered Dylan Jiang again. He no longer looked as spirited as before, showing signs of a somewhat dejected and aged demeanor. I didn't recognize him at first, until he called out, "Luna Tang." Only then did I exclaim in surprise. "Dylan Jiang?" I still had an important meeting to attend, so I didn't have time to chat. I nodded politely and hurried away. Later, I heard from a fellow villager. Dylan Jiang's career advancement was hindered by the disgrace surrounding his marriage to Sherry Yang. Moreover, I heard Sherry constantly fought with him over the stipend money. Several times, their arguments even spilled into his workplace, where she stubbornly accused him of spending money on other women. With his domestic life in turmoil and losing favor with his superiors, his career prospects were essentially doomed. I fell silent for a moment. My heart was a whirlwind of mixed emotions. Dylan Jiang had been sending all that stipend money to me. I asked the village chief to return it several times, but he refused to accept it and kept sending it persistently. Eventually, I had someone inform him of my address change, directing him to send the money back to the village. I instructed the village chief to use those funds to support families in need within the community. In my past life, Dylan Jiang gave me the marriage but gave the money to Sherry Yang. In this life, he gave Sherry the marriage but gave the money to me. In the end, it was all just a self-indulgent, one-sided attempt at fulfillment. Yet, he ended up ruining two women's lives in the process. Thankfully, in this life, I've long since climbed out of the mire and refused to sink back in. After delivering a successful speech, I strode out of the conference hall with my head held high, feeling the world was vast and full of possibilities. I've driven rural development, helping my fellow villagers achieve common prosperity. I also established a charity fund aimed at helping more children like Owen Wu, who for various reasons cannot attend school. Helping them set sail toward boundless horizons will build our nation's splendid future together. Under the starry sky, my most steadfast ally, Owen Wu, shared a knowing smile with me. We can be friends, comrades, partners, but not necessarily lovers. This country is vast and boundless. This era is unprecedented. We can all soar freely under our own skies.